Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media. I'm your host, John Herold, and boy, oh boy, am I excited about today's show. We finally got the declassified appendix from the Durham report, and it did not disappoint. I'm not sure if I'm there yet that it's the most damning thing, because I still think potentially what we got yesterday about that whistleblower, the former analyst from the FBI, what he said about connecting the things is, I think, the most damning thing. But this is right up there, maybe tied. But very excited. I'm going to be going through that right off the top of the show, and there's other stuff to talk about too. But man, it's just exciting. We were talking last night in the Power Hour a lot about this, and a lot of people in the movement, they like to think and make the comments like, "Oh yeah, this is something we already knew. Welcome to the party." All these things. And it's not necessarily true. These are all things that we assumed, but as I explained last night, it's like we had, shenanigans part 1, shenanigans part 3, and we always assumed logically, based on circumstantial evidence, that there was a shenanigans part 2 in the middle, which was the crime aspect. And that is what we're starting to get filled in here, and it's just really exciting times. So I'm going to come talk to the chat in a minute, see what you guys are up to. But before I do that, I want to get a quick word from the sponsors of today's show. And first up, we have Conscious Strength.
What's up, Badlanders? It's summer, it's hot, you're probably sweaty and dehydrated, which is why you could use a nice tall glass of electrolytes from Conscious Strength. Instead of sugar-laden Gatorade full of food dye,
you're drinking the wrong water.
These electrolytes are naturally flavored and sweetened. Zero sugar, so they're keto-friendly. The sodium comes from pink Himalayan sea salt, and they have a healthy dose of magnesium and potassium to help you replenish and recover. And at less than $1 a serving, they're cheaper than those sports drinks and most big-name electrolyte brands. Drink your electrolytes on a hot day to rehydrate. They're great pre- or post-workout, and also awesome for a hangover recharge. And for the rest of July, they're 15% off. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/strength to grab your can. Plus, use promo code BADLANDS for an extra 5% off and to support your favorite grassroots media company. One more time, that's badlandsmedia.tv/strength. Link will be in the description below.
Awesome. I see we got a couple of celebrities in the chat. I mean, Ash is there, she's a little late. She said she was reading the annex, but Red Pill 78 wife came to watch her favorite podcaster. Good to see a Red Pill 78 wife, and looking forward to seeing you in person in Gart in a couple weeks. We also have a new sponsor today's show. Very excited about this one. Introducing All Good, ingredients with purpose. All Good is making self-care great again with clean, natural essentials that deliver results. Elevate your hair care routine with All Good's deep conditioning tallow hair mask. Just 30 minutes every few washes. This powerful formula deeply nourishes, strengthens, and restores radiant shine, leaving your hair soft, manageable, and frizz-free. No PFAs, no carcinogens, and no BS. All Good uses only purposeful natural ingredients like 100% grass-fed tallow and premium organic oils for unmatched quality. Customers are raving, calling it a game changer for dry hair and purely natural magic. So ditch the mainstream, chemical-laden products and redefine your self-care routine with All Good by Jessica Storm, Badlands' own Jessica Storm in our chat here. Try the hair mask and the rest of the collection for yourself. Introducing the new tallow sunscreen. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/allgood. A portion of your purchase goes directly to support Badlands Media. If you use the promo code Badlands, you get 5% off plus free shipping for orders over $75. That's badlandsmedia.tv/allgood. Promo code Badlands. Thank you for the support, Jessica. Excited for you with this new little side venture you're doing. One more thing I want to point out real quick. I'll play the actual promo later, but at 2 p.m. Eastern, at the conclusion of this show, we are going to be doing our next exclusive ticket holder live stream for GART. So if you are an in-person or virtual GART attendee, you will have access to this live stream. And that's whether you have your ticket now or if you buy it later, you'll get the link to it and you can watch it later. But I'd encourage you to join live because you can interact with us and provide feedback on GART panels and all that stuff. So get your GART tickets. The emails are going to be going out here in like 25 minutes with the link to watch. And that's badlandsmedia.tv/events. All right, let's get right into it, guys. We finally got the classified appendix to the Durham report, something we've been expecting. Foreign intel linked to Soros predicted FBI role in Trump-Russia narrative. Durham report appendix reveals. So I'm going to read the story on it first from our Badlands Media website, and then I'm going to go through some of the things I found and some of the interesting things. And also another tangent interesting thing that I was piecing together this morning when the Durham report dropped. It was actually funny. I was like going through, I was on this deep dive. I was like, holy cow, I think I found something here. Then my daughter came down. I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. And so I went and helped her with the bathroom. And then I went to go shower. And as I was getting in the shower, I like saw breaking news that the appendix dropped. So it wasn't my most thorough cleaning in the shower this morning. So I was so excited to get down here and start reading that thing. But anyway, that I don't even know why I went into that. Senator Chuck Grassley on Thursday released a declassified appendix from special counsel John Durham's investigation revealing foreign intelligence reports that anticipated the FBI's role in promoting the Trump-Russia collusion narrative before the official launch of Crossfire Hurricane in July of 2016. The annex cites foreign sources linked to George Soros's Open Society Foundations. That is true. According to the document, internal emails assessed by Russian state hackers suggested that Open Society's Eurasia director, Leonard Bernardo, foresaw a campaign to tie Donald Trump to Vladimir Putin with involvement from groups like CrowdStrike and ThreatConnect and amplification by major U.S. media outlets. Bernardo allegedly predicted the FBI would later put more oil on the fire. By the way, I have a different... the way I'm understanding his email, which we'll get to in a little bit, I just want to say this now before I forget, or in case I forget later. My understanding of how he's framing the CrowdStrike thing is different than I think how other people are framing it. And I'll show you that here in a little bit, maybe if I remember. According to the annex, foreign sources reported that campaign-linked data... Oh, wait, I skipped a couple lines. Just so excited. The document also indicates that Clinton campaign approved efforts to spread the Russian narrative to distract from Hillary Clinton's private email scandal, with one memo attributing this directive to campaign advisor Julianne Smith. According to the annex, foreign sources reported that campaign-linked data would be laundered through technical cutouts before being used by intelligence-linked actors. Communications reviewed by the Durham team show that the Clinton campaign anticipated or sought assistance from the vice president's office, the FBI, or other intelligence agencies, including the State Department's Bureau of Intelligence and Research, to support that effort. The appendix, declassified in coordination with the CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and FBI Director Kash Patel, includes a notation that the emails were deemed likely authentic by interviewed FBI personnel. Some emails were reportedly obtained from servers the Russian government claimed to have compromised. Grassley described the revelations as evidence of one of the biggest political scandals and cover-ups in American history and called for further transparency regarding the intelligence community's handling of the information. So Phil Scarborough in the chat with the $2 rant says, would be funny if Dong Jingwei popped up right about now. I agree. It would be pretty funny. Interesting timing to say the least. But yeah, let's look at some of the actuals here. I do have a Twitter thread going, and I'm probably going to go between this and, the actual document itself. But let me get rolling here. So first up, what I found was interesting is this classified appendix talks about the same Russian intercepted and translated documents that the IG classified appendix talks about. I wonder if do I have that saved here? I might have to do some like mind map magic or something. Let me see if I can. How am I going to do this? Let's do it this way. Hold for processing while I get this shut up, because I want to give you an example of exactly what I'm talking about. Is this the right one? Where's the classified? Hold for, I have so many freaking tabs open. Oh yeah, this is the one. Okay, let's do that. Okay, I'm going to share my entire screen for a second, because right here, this is what I have on the screen right now is those Russian communications I was talking about. It showed that the Clinton campaign, with support from special services, were preparing scandalous revelations of a business relations between Trump and the Russian mafia. Analysts believe the word special services could have referred to the FBI and the CIA, or more broadly to the intelligence and law enforcement communities. They also thought it could refer to Trump dossier author Christopher Steele. But let me pull up the actual report and get to that page. This is kind of weird. The original IG one that they show us isn't the same. Like they tweak it a little bit, and I don't know how that could be possible if they're both reviewing the same thing. Yeah. So here we go. So these are there's number one. Let me get this one pulled up. Okay. So let me stop this screen share and share my entire window or screen. Okay. Okay. So do you guys see this? On the right side is the Inspector General's classified appendix. On the left side is the Durham classified appendix. They are talking about the same things. They're translated Russian intercepts from the source T1. Find the part in here where it says T1. Yeah, right here. So on the right side where it says T1 established filters to limit. FBI witnesses told us that T1 is filtering out certain victim data, all those things. And then down here they talk about the first Russian translated report, and the verbatim translation states, in relevant part, recent information appearing in the media about the FBI investigating possible facts of corruption. On the left side of the Durham report, talking about T1, telling us it's Bernardo and Jeffrey Goldstein from the Open Societies Foundation. On the right side, they're talking about the Open Society Foundation too, but the left side includes this first paragraph. The right side doesn't have it. On January 12th of this year, during a confidential discussion with Jeffrey Goldstein, a representative of the Soros Foundation on Eurasia, Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz characterized the situation in her party in light of growing scandals surrounding Hillary Clinton as follows. And then it has 3 paragraphs, which are these 3 paragraphs on the right side. So the IG investigation left out the part where it was talking about who exactly sent the email. And then the next one, the second report, has 2 paragraphs for the IG investigation. The Durham report one is significantly longer. Look at this. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's it. The 6. And it's particularly damning. And so I'm curious, why did the IG investigation leave that part off? It does say, the relevant parts of it or whatever, states in relevant part, but it also says that the FBI Cyber Division are the ones who provided copies of the reports to the mid-year team in 2016. Like, did they not give Horowitz the full details of these Russian translated intercepts? I'm not sure. But I thought it was weird because we get more context with the Durham one than we had before. But yeah, let me stop sharing my screen and try this again with just the window. Okay. So yeah, I mean, pretty damning so far, and then it gets even worse. And this is like there's 2 really big ones. This is probably the biggest. It's an email from this Leonard Bernardo to, or I don't even know who this is to, but he's talking about something he received from Julianne Smith. I'm going to read it verbatim here. The email attached the following English text in a document, which appears to be another email from Bernardo bearing a date of July 27th. So our intelligence community intercepted Russian intelligence. They were analyzing some stuff, and in there they had text or a picture or something, which appeared to be an email from this Bernardo guy from the Open Societies Foundation. And he says, "Hi, HRC approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections." So right off the bat, who he's talking about here, and it's mentioned earlier, this Julia is Julianne Smith. Okay, it was the, let me find, where did I put that? There we go. It's this lady. She's a Clinton advisor. She was like in charge of her European affairs. So it kind of makes sense she's talking to the Open Societies Foundation and whatnot. Interesting enough, she was the Deputy National Security Advisor to the Vice President of the United States from 2012 to 2013, and then also served as the Acting National Security Advisor to the Vice President in March and April of 2013. Do you guys remember who was the Vice President back during those time periods? Oh yeah, that would have been Joe Biden. So the person who had the plan to vilify Trump by fabricating this whole Russia collusion narrative is a Joe Biden advisor. It's also how they have connections, which we'll get to later, to the office of the vice president when they're trying to like drum up this controversy. So I just thought it was important to point that out. Anyway, continued. Which, by the way, let me check the chat real quick just to make sure I'm not like missing anything. Sometimes I get a little lost in my own world and okay, yeah, we're good. Okay, back to this. That should distract people from her own missing email, especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level. The point is making the Russian play a U.S. domestic issue. Say something like a critical infrastructure threat for our election. Now, right off the bat, when I read this, all I could think about was how on January 6th of 2017, Obama's Department of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, he reclassified our election infrastructure as a critical infrastructure subsector. So like right off the bat, what this guy is saying their plan is and why they're doing it, it later came true. Say something like critical infrastructure threat for election. But the reason they do it here is what's fascinating. To feel menace, since both POTUS and VPOTUS, Joe Biden, have acknowledged the fact IC would speed up searching for evidence that is regrettably still unavailable. The reason they wanted our election infrastructure to be labeled as critical infrastructure was because it would help speed up the process of getting more people involved to find evidence that doesn't exist at this point, according to this email. It's like one of those things like we're going to push the Russia collusion hoax and make it a national issue so that we can justify clarifying it as a, critical infrastructure, which will get more feet in the fire or whatever, and allow us to find the evidence that we think exists. But they never had the evidence in the first place. However, there seems to be signs, GRU, penetration, whatever, circumstantial evidence, right? They appear hardly skilled, incompetent, bumbling idiots, as somebody called them. And then this part's crazy. In absence of direct evidence, CrowdStrike and Threat Connect will supply the media, and GRU will hopefully carry on to give more facts. So like what some people are saying, I think I saw it was it John Solomon maybe this morning? Let me find it because I think it was on Truth Social. Hold for processing while I pull this up. Yeah, John Solomon reports. Yeah, right here. This is what he posted this morning. I just have a different take on it than he does. This is the smoking gun evidence inside the Durham annex. I do agree with that. If it is authenticated by further investigation, and the fact that he's saying, like, if it's authenticated by further investigation, that means that they are actually investigating whether this is authentic or not. That's already happening because this guy has sources. He's got sources to the gills. It means liberal mega donor George Soros' team knew the whole Clinton plan for Russiagate hoax 4 days before FBI opened up the probe, and so did Obama, Brennan, and Comey. And it suggests there was direct evidence of GRU hack of DNC server. That last sentence there is what I disagree with, because the email he's talking about directly says that there's a lack of evidence of that. Like there's some circumstantial evidence of GRU or whatever. But until they have that evidence, CrowdStrike is going to attribute it to them. And then hopefully GRU will continue to like do their stuff and then we can prove it later. I thought that was just so interesting because that's exactly what happened, except for the GRU actually proving it. I still don't think we have direct evidence that GRU did it. Sean Ryan, in his own testimony in front of Congress, said that we never had the direct evidence. The circumstantial evidence is that Russia had the emails. Doesn't mean they're the ones who hacked it. Seth Rich, baby. Anyways, the office interviewed numerous FBI personnel who were involved in Crossfire Hurricane or related intelligence efforts to determine whether they could shed light on the potential reliability or unreliability of the information about the possible Clinton campaign plan. Certain redacted analysts and officers whom the office interviewed and who were well versed in the sensitive intelligence collection stated that their best assessment was the Bernardo emails were likely authentic. Our intelligence community thought these emails were authentic. Multiple analysts noted that the Russians had, in fact, hacked Bernardo's emails. I mean, this is damning. Absolutely damning. Now, it goes on, the report, and they do start to list more emails. Let me see if I can find some of those. Hold for processing. Where's page 1 of the email? I'll show you guys what I'm scanning right now. Again, I'm going to be kind of all over the place as I'm going through this and stuff pops into my head. Here's the first email. And this is a different one, but still interesting. More emails. Okay. Translated email. This is the one I just read, which is the damning one. They also say Russians might have fabricated or altered purported U.S. emails, but some of these analysts also noted that the sensitive intelligence was redacted. Don't know. Still a lot of redactions in this document too, by the way. Now, they did interview these people. Like they interviewed Bernardo, they interviewed Julianne Smith, they interviewed Clinton, other campaign people, Jake Sullivan, Podesta. They all obviously denied it, right? Like they denied any wrongdoing. What else are they going to say? But then at the end of it, when Durham like gives up his wrap-up kind of statement or a couple of wrap-up statements, is where he makes the point that like really hammers it home for me anyway. Sorry, I want to find, what was I looking for again? Okay, here. In an interview with The Office, Maurer likewise was shown the purported emails from Bernardo. Bernardo said he didn't even know who Julie was or referred to. He stated to the best of his recollection he did not draft the emails. Bernardo, I mean, obviously they're not going to admit to doing it. Bernardo stated, however, that the last sentence of the email, that things are ghastly for U.S.-Russian relations, sounded like something he might have said. They interviewed Julianne Smith. Smith stated that she neither drafted nor recalled receiving either of the purported Bernardo emails. Smith stated that she did not specifically remember proposing a plan to Clinton or other campaign leadership to try to tie Trump to Putin or Russia. Smith stated, however, that it was possible that she had proposed ideas on these topics to the campaign's leadership, who may have approved those ideas. She recalled conversations with others in the campaign expressing their genuine concerns that the DNC hack was a threat to the electoral system and that Trump and his advisors appeared to have troubling ties to Russia. And then also interviewed Clinton herself, and obviously denial. Jake Sullivan stated it was ridiculous. Podesta stated he'd never seen the stuff before and it was ridiculous. Jennifer Palmieri, a communications director, also said it's ridiculous. Palmieri stated that Podesta, Sullivan, Mook, and herself were aware of a project involving ties between Trump and Russia being conducted by Perkins Coie, but Palmieri did not think that Clinton was aware of it, nor did she receive any instruction from her about it. Sure. Let me see. And I was like 1.5. I've read this like 1.5 times so far. But here's what's interesting. Former Foreign Policy Advisor 2 stated that she did not speak to anyone at the State Department about this issue. The information she mentioned in this email regarding the State Department's Russia desk came from outside Advisor 1. In addition, on July 25th, 2016, the same day as the purported email from Bernardo stating that Julie says it will be a long-term affair to demonize Putin and Trump, and later the FBI will put more oil on the fire, Smith had the following text message exchange with Foreign Policy Advisor 2. The email they're talking about was not the damning one, but there was a couple other emails that they had text of, and one of them in it said that the FBI was going to put more fuel on the fire. Probably should have read that one. But anyway, let me come back down here. So this is a text exchange from Julianne Smith and whoever this foreign policy advisor 2 is. Can you see if a special assistant to the president and National Security Council member will tell you if there is a formal FBI or other investigation into the hack? Julianne Smith says, she won't say anything more to me. Sorry. Told me she went as far as she could. Next, do you have others who might? Julianne Smith. Has Clinton campaign advisor 1 tried her? I wonder if that's Sullivan or Podesta. Curious if she would react differently to him. I can also try the office of the vice president. They might say more. Remember, she used to be the deputy director for national security or whatever for Biden. So she has connections there. And then I don't know if he has, but can ask. Would also be good to try OVP and anyone in the intelligence community. Left messages for the OVP, but Politico just sent me a push notification stating that they are indeed investigating. FBI just put our statement, thanks. They're clearly talking about it. The office's best assessment is that the July 25th and 27th emails that purport to be from Bernardo were ultimately a composite of several emails that were obtained through Russian intelligence hacking of US-based think tanks, including the Open Societies Foundations, the Carnegie Endowment, and others. That's Office of Special Counsel, Durham. This is his conclusion. Indeed, as discussed above, language from Tim Auer's email of July 25th is identical to language contained in Bernardo's purported email of the same date. Furthermore, given Smith's extensive contacts in the think tank community, her public role as a foreign policy advisor for the Clinton campaign, and her communications with think tank colleagues regarding Trump, it is a logical deduction that redacted Smith was at a minimum playing a role in the Clinton campaign's efforts to tie Trump to Russia. Indeed, Smith's July 27th email to her think tank colleagues regarding Trump, Russia, and NATO, the day after candidate Clinton allegedly approved the plan to tie Trump to Russia, certainly lends at least some credence that such a plan existed. Moreover, Smith's text message exchange with Foreign Policy Advisor 2 supports the notion that the campaign might have wanted or expected the FBI or other agencies to aid that effort. Put more oil on the fire by commencing a formal investigation into the DNC hack. Now, then it gets into like how the FBI and the U.S. intelligence communities responded to this. And there's an interesting thing in here I want to show you guys if I can find the right part. I mean, look at this huge redaction. There's a lot of talking about the mid-year investigation. I thought this was interesting. The office also interviewed FBI General Counsel Baker, I think that's James Baker, to whom Anderson reported at the time of the defensive briefing. Baker told the office that based on reports he received of the defensive briefing, he was greatly concerned about Lynch's reaction. Moreover, Baker, unlike his FBI colleagues, did not dismiss the credibility of redacted reports. In fact, Baker informed the office that following the defensive briefing of Lynch, he began to have concerns about Lynch's potential bias, due in part to her curious reaction to sensitive intelligence, blah, 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 blah. Tarmac meeting. Okay, no, I'm just going to go back to my Twitter thread because I have it there. So I don't have to dig forever. And that's right here, this one. Okay. In short, neither the office nor redacted have been able to determine definitively whether the purported Clinton campaign plan, redacted, was entirely genuine, partially true, a composite pulled from multiple sources, exaggerated in certain respects, or fabricated in its entirety. Nonetheless, the late July 2016 Sensitive Intelligence, which a senior intelligence official with significant and detailed knowledge of the sensitive intelligence collection described as really concerning, immediately made its way to CIA headquarters. Director Brennan, similarly, appears to have recognized the significance of the information as evidenced by his briefing the President, Vice President, Attorney General, DNI, Director of the FBI, and other high-ranking government officials within a matter of days. Moreover, in early September 2016, the CIA prepared a referral memorandum on the information regarding the purported plan. That went to the FBI, and the information was included in an intelligence note prepared later in September 2016 related to Russian election interference. Thus, you guys can't stay with me, bravest? My bad. Thus, the record reflects that the FBI was fully alerted to the possibility that at least some of the information it was receiving about the Trump campaign might have its origin either with the Clinton campaign or its supporters, or alternatively was the product of Russian disinformation. Despite this awareness, the FBI appears to have dismissed the T1 information as not credible, without any investigative steps actually having been taken to either corroborate or disprove the allegations. And that's like such a logical and good conclusion. Clearly, they thought it was like worth running up the food chain all the way up to Obama. But then for some reason, they never even like took the basic investigative steps to actually determine whether or not the allegations were true. Like that's insanity. And that alone, in my opinion, Durham didn't come to this same opinion, but that's like a criminal thing. But then when you start tying this together with other findings that we're getting, like yesterday, oh, did that break after the show, by the way? We got that whistleblower statement to class. That broke after the show, didn't it? So I did not discuss this on yesterday's show. Last night on the Power Hour, we went over this. I posted a short video about it too. But there's a whistleblower from the intelligence community. He was an analyst who was tasked with like going over, Russian intelligence about their interference in the 2016 elections. They came across like these IP addresses that were Russian attributed, but they kept trying to like connect to election infrastructure. And so they started digging on it. And as they're digging on it and digging further, they're told by a higher up, the person who tasked them to put this report together, to like, no, don't look at that. That's something else. And he's like, what? That's weird. And like, just looking at it from a 40,000 foot view, if these people were trying to find ties to Russia or Russian interference to further their narrative, they were fabricating stuff. You don't think they would take existing things that they find and use that? So it's super weird that they would tell a guy to stop looking into it. And yet they did. And so the guy's like, oh, well, that's weird. And then later, he's like watching the stuff coming out from the Durham investigation and is like, holy shit. That's what I was finding. Like, I believe he uncovered what Jaffe was doing, Rodney Jaffe. And then whoever told him to shut down was somebody in the intelligence community that knew what the Clinton campaign and Rodney Jaffe were up to. And that right there, along with this, like not taking the full investigative steps to investigate this, coupled with the intelligence community shutting down an investigation into something that would have uncovered what the Clinton campaign paid Jaffe to do. I mean, it's criminal. And like, this is just scratching the surface. I still think we're going to get more damning information. It's incredible. And I do have one more thing I just want to briefly point out. No, maybe I should flesh this out a little further. I don't even remember why I started like digging into this. Yeah, no, I'm gonna wait on that. I'm putting together this timeline of like significant events because you can go through these reports and you can almost see like dates that'll stick out and be like, oh, why is that date so important? And then you start looking through all the other reports and you'll find like, okay, on the same day as, the day before the Steele goes and starts like fishing this story around that Trump was colluding with Russia and the Carter Page stuff, Obama's executive or White House counsel or whatever is meeting with people at the FBI and like stuff like that. It's weird, right? And once you start getting a whole bunch of connections, like tying those things together, like multiple like weird moves around the same date, it starts to paint that grim picture. Maybe I'll go over this tomorrow. I just need to fully flesh it out. But I found another one that I think is pretty dasting. It was Clapper. Clapper shut it down. That is my thoughts too. But it's possible it was also what's her name? It was like the NIO cyber from back in 2017. I don't remember the bitch's name. Pardon my French. But it's either Clapper or this one lady. I'll try to pull it up tomorrow. Red Pill 78 Wife says the only thing better than a timeline is a timeline on a whiteboard. And what about a timeline on a Miro map? I'll just show you guys what I got. Let me find I have to find one other link here, and then I can lay this out, I think. Oh no, I got it here. Okay, so what I was digging into, I'm jumping the gun. There might be more to this, but I was thinking back to DNI Gabbard, like, okay, at what point did they decide to go all in? And some of my thought process here stemmed from our discussion last night, where, Burning Bright was like, they never thought they'd get caught. And I was like, well, I don't think they ever thought that she would lose. And then once they lost, like they knew that they were screwed. And that's why they kept doing all these other things. And all the stuff they did prior to the election, some of this, these emails, the intelligence stuff they buried, they met with Obama. Obama knew about it, and they still pursued all these investigative steps. As soon as Trump won, they had to go all in. And we got that the declassified stuff from Gabbard like in July, middle of July, July 18th. I guess it's still July. And it talked about this little timeline of, they were going to have this presidential daily briefing. It was supposed to be scheduled for, I think, December 8th. Yeah, see right here, December 7th, the IC is working on a new presidential daily briefing examining the potential impact of cyber hacks on the election results. And then December 8th, they're discussing the draft of the presidential daily briefing, which finds that Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. So not the narrative they wanted to push. Hi, all. Due to high administration interest, this piece is now scheduled to run tomorrow. Therefore, we now ask that coordination responses be sent by 2 p.m. Then a few hours later, the FBI is going to be drafting its dissent. So they were going to draft, the FBI was going to put out their dissent for that conclusion. And then a short while after that, like, hey guys, based on some new guidance, we are going to push back publication of the presidential daily briefing. It will not run tomorrow and is not likely to run next week. Okay. And then the next day is when they have this huge Obama White House meeting. But the December 8th is an important date, I think, because when they pushed this meeting back, this is when they decided, in my opinion, that they needed to this is a crucial time. We need to figure out how Russia colluded with Trump here. And clearly some of the intelligence we're actually getting isn't lining up with that narrative. And so then a couple interesting things that happened on that day is Bruce Orr called Simpson on December 8th and arranged a time to meet with him. And then 2 days later, he got a thumb drive with all these Steele report documents. The same day that they pushed back the meeting because they didn't have the narrative they wanted. And then the same day, this Kalimnik guy, he sent a December 8th, 2016 message in which he detailed a plan. He sent it to Manafort, like this long message. Remember Manafort and all the bullshit that he had put Trump through? Sends his long email detailing a plan to tie Trump and Russia further together. This was Manafort wasn't even working for the Trump campaign at this point, but they used this to try to take down Trump and build that connection between Trump and Russia. This email, the same date, sent the same date. That's a little weird. And then you have, I thought I had more timeline stuff. Yeah, remember then after this meeting on the 9th is when they went all in on that new ICA, and there's a whole bunch of other shenanigans after that. So I think there's something there on that date, and I'm wondering if we're going to get more corroboration with future stuff. But yeah, I think that's all I got. I've spent 40 minutes on that alone so far. It's crazy how fast time flies when I'm going through some of this stuff. But Ash says, I hope we can be in the courtroom for these trials. I hope so too. We'll send somebody. I'm probably going to move on to some of the other news real quick, just for the next 20 minutes. Bravest says, if it is this tough for us, normies will not ever really know. And that's another discussion we had last night on the Power Hour is, however the evidence lines up, they need to be able to present this in a consumable format, easy to consume format for the general public. So it's not still this misinterpretation of an intelligence analysis. There needs to be the super damning confirmation. And maybe the best case scenario is, as John Solomon said in a video yesterday, he's like, it's true. Obama may have immunity. I don't think he should. I think there's plenty of arguments that can be made that he shouldn't. But let's just say that he does. He gets called in to testify. He can no longer plead the Fifth Amendment. If he starts rolling on people, it would tell the whole story. If he tells the truth, if he lies, then he is liable and he can go to prison. So we'll see. I don't think we're done yet. Obviously, The declassified whistleblower testimony we got yesterday had this like I can't remember what it was called. It was like a section 3 or appendix 3 that we haven't got yet, but it had to do with his analysis of the attribution of Russia related activities in the IP addresses and how he thought it was related to the Durham report. They held that back for some reason. I still think we're going to get that at some point. We still have at least 2 more classified appendixes, unless this counts as 2, because I was expecting to get, what was I expecting again? Yeah, the Durham report, classified appendix on the Clinton plan intelligence and the Steele dossier. There was some of the Steele dossier stuff in here. And so I don't know if that is what they're counting as that, because I'm basing this off of what Derek Harvey said on Steve Bannon a few weeks ago. And then we're also waiting on more classified stuff from the Inspector General reports. So I don't know. I don't know if we have how much we have coming, but I'm expecting a lot more, because I know the damning stuff is there. We all know what actually happened here. You need to be able to not only prove it in court, but this is one of those things where I don't think they only want to prove it in court. They also want to prove it in the court of public opinion. And I think they know they can do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting us through this all again. They wouldn't have pulled us all onto the rug just to rug pull us. But that's where I'm at. I'm directly at the center of that rug right now. And I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I could handle being rug pulled at this point. So real quick, we'll go through a few other things. Doge website, no update. Couple new executive actions on the presidential website: adjusting imports of copper, addressing threats to the United States by the government of Brazil, nominations at the Senate, and suspending duty-free de minimis treatment for all countries. We had a couple Truth Social posts from Trump. We had a trade deal with Korea, $350 billion in investments. Additionally, South Korea will purchase $100 billion of LNG. So that's good news. Trump had a phone call with the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. They've extended the 90-day period, the exact same deal that we had for the last short period of time, namely that Mexico will continue to pay a 25% fentanyl tariff, 25% tariff on cars, 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, copper. Additionally, they've agreed to immediately terminate its non-tariff trade barriers, of which there are many. And they're going to continue negotiating over the next 90 days. Yesterday, as expected, Powell did not lower interest rates.
Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
So, as expected, rates remained unchanged. But the interesting part of this is that the Federal Reserve was actually divided over whether or not to lower the rates. The Federal Open Market Committee, the group that sets the overnight borrowing rate, voted 9-2 to stay on the hold. The level sets what banks charge for other overnight lending, whatever. However, the decision met opposition from Governors Michelle Bowman and Christopher Waller, both of whom have advocated for the Fed to start easing in acknowledgement that inflation is under control and the labor market could start weakening soon. This was the first time since late 1993 that multiple governors cast no votes on a rate decision, which is nuts. First time in so long. And so this is starting to show, like, if they do it in September again, don't lower the rates, maybe we'll have an 8-3 decision or a 7-4 decision. And the fact that it's that divided is the story here. People are clearly starting to see that this is a political move. And there's even a group suing the Fed chair. They just demanded to release the transcript of yesterday's closed-door meeting where they dubiously refused to cut the interest rates. For the first time in 32 years, 2 sitting members of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors publicly dissented from the sitting Fed chair by voting against Powell and voting for an immediate rate cut. This unprecedented dissent was brushed aside by Fed Chair Powell At Wednesday's press conference, Powell was asked directly why two of his own board members voted against him. He refused to answer. There's also a clip here. How much time do I got? I'll play some of this clip.
Need to see what kind of economic data does the Fed need to see before you'll be ready to cut? I mean, do you need inflation back nearly to target? Are there other things in the pricing that you look for? Do you need to see weakening in the job market? What kind of things are you looking for?
I mean, ultimately, it could be any of those things, right? But you know, if you saw that the risks to the two goals were moving into balance, if they were fully in balance, that would imply that you should move toward a more neutral stance of policy. This is the special situation we're in, which is we have two-sided risk to both of our goals. When we paused, inflation was above target and the labor market was pretty good. So you know, that was a time when policy was restrictive when we paused. And to be restrictive is to be supporting a return to our inflation target, right? So as the two targets get back into balance, you would think you'd move in a way closer to neutral, and that the next steps that we take are likely to be in that direction. What will it take? You know, it'll be the totality of the evidence. As I mentioned, there's quite a lot of data coming in, which before the next meeting. Will it be dispositive of that? You know, it's really hard to say. We don't make those decisions, and
Guy's a total loser. Yeah, somebody in the chat says, Karina Dan 21, people are so oppressed by the high cost of housing. It's not just the high cost, it's also the high cost of borrowing. So I mean, I guess kind of saying the same thing. But yeah, interest rates are just crazy. I got really lucky when I got into this house because I got an owner financing deal. Like me and my kids would go, I think it was every Sunday that I had them, and we would go just look at open houses just for fun. I wasn't planning to move out of my parents' basement. And it's not that I couldn't have afforded to, it's just I didn't want to like take out a loan at those kind of interest rates. And I was kind of expecting bigger shenanigans to take place within the financial markets. I kind of wanted to ride that out. But then one of the open houses we came to, this one, you know, we talked with the owners for a little while and they were super cool. And afterwards, like, you know, if you're interested, we would be willing to do owner financing. And after you got the specifics, I got the specifics of that. I was like, hell yeah. But it's still like high. And I've been waiting to refinance that and would love to refinance that, but don't have the opportunity to do so because interest rates are just insane right now. I'm still in my basement, guys, just not at my mom's house, my mom and dad's house. No longer have that wood paneling. I'm still in what is technically my basement, even though my window right here, it's like ground level. It's like a split level home. So anyway, this is what Trump had to say about Powell. And remember last week, Trump goes to the tour of the new renovations of the Federal Reserve or the buildings, whatever. And after he comes out of that, he had the True Social post where it was like this distinct change in rhetoric from Trump. And it was weird. I was almost to the point where I was saying, like, if Powell actually cuts the rates here, there's a little quid pro quo going or something. Mostly joking, but he's back to his old form here. This is the former rhetoric from Trump, the expected rhetoric. Jerome Too Late Powell has done it again. He is too late and actually too angry, too stupid, and too political to have the job of Fed chair. He is costing our country trillions of dollars, in addition to one of the most incompetent or corrupt renovations of a building in history of construction. Put another way, Too Late is a total loser, and our country is paying the price. But this part right here, in addition to one of the most incompetent or corrupt renovations of a building's history in the history of construction, last week he was like, you know, it is what it is. We're making so much money. It doesn't matter. Just finish that thing as quickly as possible. Let's move on. And then, yeah. Now we're back. Here's a story from CNBC I just thought was interesting. Trump's trade agenda. I don't even want to read this. Yeah, I do. I don't know what the outcome of this is. Trump's trade agenda is on the line as appeals court hears arguments in the key tariffs case. A federal appeals court on Thursday is set to hear arguments on whether or not to kneecap President Donald Trump's global tariff regime. The oral arguments were supposed to take place at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning. That's like right before the Durham appendix came out, and I have not paid attention to whether or not this got resolved. So I'll probably have something on that tomorrow. Senate confirmed Joseph Kent as the head of National Counterterrorism Center in a partisan vote. He was confirmed 52-44. Party lines as usual. He's the guy he was a candidate who ran, was it up in Washington or Oregon or something for the House, and he lost. It's probably stole an election. Kent, who was endorsed by President Trump in both of his congressional campaigns, has said that Russia's territorial demands in Ukraine were very reasonable shortly after the start of the war in 2022. And that's how the war is going to be resolved, with those territorial demands. He was also maintained that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump and suggested that the FBI may have played a hidden role in the events of January 6, 2021. Super based. The FBI has opened a new office in New Zealand to counter Chinese influence in the Pacific. Kash Patel was there. I thought it was interesting because there are Five Eyes intelligence aspects to what happened with the Durham report and, you know, the whole Russia collusion side of things. I wonder if there wasn't also some questions being asked about what happened with that. But yeah, he was there, opened up the new office. Super notable. There was a story going around the last couple of days where West Point had appointed this Jen Easterly, the former CISA director, to be a distinguished chair there. And now, after pushback, the Army rescinded that appointment. So that's great news. Putin boasts that we have developed immunity to sanctions. This is a talking point we've been saying on the Power Hour for like 2 years. I remember there's this old Gonzalo Lira thread where he talks about this. Like, based on what the Biden administration was doing, they basically sanction-proofed Russia. And now Putin is saying the same thing. And it's true. Sanctions have little to no effect because they've, you know, diversified everything. They don't have to worry about it. We have been living under a huge number of sanctions for quite some time. Our economy operates under a huge number of restrictions. Therefore, of course, we've already developed a certain immunity to this. They've been vaccinated to avoid sanctions. Trump is set to revive the presidential fitness test while hosting professional athletes at the White House. So I think I see no issue with that. Okay, and then this was interesting. Why would one from Trump, I have this, and then I have a video I'm going to play, and then we'll get you out of here. Why would one Republican, Senator Josh Hawley from the great state of Missouri, join with all of the Democrats to block a review sponsored by Senator Rick Scott and with the support of almost all of the Republicans of Nancy Pelosi's stock trading over the last 25 years? The information was inappropriately released just minutes before the vote, very much like sabotage. The Democrats, because of their tremendous achievements and success, have been trying to target me for a long period of time, and they're using Josh Hawley, who I got elected twice, as a pawn to help them. I wonder why Hawley would pass a bill that Nancy Pelosi's in absolute love with. He's playing right into their dirty hands of the Democrats. It's a great bill for her and her husband, but so bad for our country. I don't think real Republicans want to see their president, who has had unprecedented success, targeted because of the whims of a second-tier senator named Josh Hawley. Harsh words. Then I got this video of Nancy Pelosi here.
Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
Yeah, but I
and
wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the stop the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that had been made over time. I'm not into it. My husband is, but it isn't anything to do with anything insider.
Nancy.
It isn't anything to do with anything insider. I do agree, potentially. Like, I like the idea of this being like the Streisand effect. You know, they're drawing more attention to this. If anything, this could be a totally fake fight between Hawley and Trump, but it also might not be. I don't know. It's certainly notable. We'll see how it plays out fully and see if, you know, some of these things, even if Congress has a bill or not about it, if they can prove that there's insider trading, which again is another one of those things where it's like you have a shenanigan 1 and a shenanigan 3. The obvious shenanigan 2 part is insider trading, which is illegal. If we get the evidence of that, people could be in trouble. People like Nancy Pelosi. So we'll see what happens there. But guys, I got to get going here because we are having that exclusive GART ticket holder stream here in about 5 minutes. So if you haven't gotten your GART tickets yet, I'd encourage you to do so. We'll talk about all this stuff. I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Daily Herald. So tune in for that. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. And another Rumble rant came in from Bravest. Appreciate you and all your support. Saying great show. And I would encourage you guys to go watch last night's Power Hour as well, because we did a pretty good deep dive on the whistleblower stuff. Had a really good discussion. So check that out. But yeah, get your tickets, badlandsmedia.tv/events. I will see you over in that chat here in just a couple minutes.
0, 1, read all about it. 2, 3. Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me?